And good Tuesday evening, November the 21st, 2023, the David and Chuck Show, live here on the Tuscola Football Network, eNet Sports, stuff that's way over my head, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, whatever all that stuff is that is way over my head, but we're on a bunch of places. So welcome everyone to the David and Chuck Show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you. Can I add someone that was going to be on the show with us for a little bit tonight?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's see who our guest is tonight. Oh,
the Tuscola Football Helmet's joining us.
There you go. Hey.
Oh, that's big leaguing us. Oh, I don't have background. I don't have background.
We can hardly hear you, Jonathan.
I said I have made it to where I can comment back to people now on here.
Oh, God, that's not a good thing. Chuck, that is not a good thing. That is not a good thing. Happy Thanksgiving, guys. Jonathan, looking forward. Jonathan, are you going to see me at Uncle Frankie's house Thursday for a few minutes? I'll put him on the spot.
I was acting like I went frozen. No, yes.
Chuck, before we get started, tell me about Thanksgiving. Tell what you guys got going on.
Well, I'm making Angie sit down and watch the Detroit Lions Thanksgiving game at 12:30, and then I'm forcing her to watch the Egg Bowl. Yesterday we had Thanksgiving for her daughters, and they just left today and gone up to their dad's in Low Gap. And then
they take little man
beach. So we're going to be home. We've got plenty of food left over, and we're just going to put our feet up and chill.
And Jonathan, nice. I know what you got going on because I know what I got going on. But let me tell people this: that folks don't know about the main man Chuck. Everybody knows that's in my world that I love to cook. I like to use the grill. I like to do all those things. And I work hard at it. But let me tell you, I don't concede much. But if you want the best roast and potatoes you've ever put in your dadgum mouth, you need to talk Chuck into making you his roast. Now, Janet gives me hell because I hate onions. And she says, but Chuck has onions in his, and you keep eating. So that tells you how good it is.
That is, my brother will attest to that. That is Faye. We call it Faye's roast and potatoes, carrots. And that's my mom, Faye. So
I miss your mom.
Yeah, well, a lot of people do.
I love your mom.
Yeah, she's a good woman.
And then
she loved Kevin more than me. She loved Mr. 800 more than me.
Well, let's just go punch him in the face because we can. And I'll tell you a story. Let me tell you a story on Jonathan real quick that maybe his players can hear or his parents will hear. Jonathan is a prestigious eater of epic proportions. So one year, he decided he was going to take these hard-boiled eggs, and he was going to eat. He was going to eat these hard-boiled eggs, and he ate like 10, 12, 14, and he kept eating, and he kept eating.
Doesn't sound like a good idea.
Well, it wasn't. And Janet,
where was the adult supervision?
Well, your mama failed. Let's just blame
no.
Just blame her.
Definitely your fault.
Chuck, he puked like a volcano erupting. I think he probably had like 14 or 15 hard-boiled eggs because he wanted to try to compete. So there was eggs and puke and oh my God.
Worth it if I won.
And then the meatballs. His grandmother's meatballs with her spaghetti. He counts the meatballs. Even now, he'll go in her house and count the meatballs and say, okay, there's 40. So the whole rest of the family can get like 25. The other 15 are mine, right, Grammy? and then
Well, yeah,
he'll
gotta have
and
meatball
then he'll
sandwiches.
take them out, Chuck. He'll take them out of the pan and hide them from the rest of the family.
Meatball sandwiches for a few days. I'm not an idiot.
So anyway, that's Thorough Food Story. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Hey Lee, thank you for saying happy Thanksgiving to us. A lot of stuff is going on before we talk about the rankings up in the state of Michigan with college football. There's the good, the bad, and the ugly. The good is Chuck's alma mater, Alma College. We'll talk about that. The bad and the ugly is in Ann Arbor. There's a lot of things happening up there with the University of Michigan. And really ugly is what happened at Michigan State, and then the statement that came out today about them wanting to fire him even before the season. So just a lot of things happening all over college football. It's a kind of a neat time of year because this is the last year of the 14 playoffs. Hey, Coach Matthews, how are you? I wish you'd get your phone where you could do it so you could be on with us. But we'll have to teach you. But anyway, give me your top 10, Chuck, right now. Now, don't talk about. Just give me your top 10, but don't talk playoffs. Just give me your top 10.
I will. Before I do that, will you go over the sponsors for me?
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Crompton's Auto Mart. Come see me. Crompton's Auto, CromptonAuto.com. The Orchard Coffee. They are awesome. I got 2 phone calls last week. One guy drove all the way in from Asheville just to buy the ground coffee so he could take it home. And then Sutton and Sons Antiques right up above me here on Dalewood Road. Just really, number one, they are deep supporters of the program, and they got the neatest stuff that you can ever get. Hey, they've even got a fuselage of an airplane, a Cessna 182. If you want to buy a fuselage of an airplane, you can have it. But I want the pinball machine. I'm saving money to get the Elvis pinball machine. But they've got a bunch, so we got a lot of good things going on. But give me your top 10.
1 is Georgia, 2 is Michigan, 3 is Ohio State, 4 is Washington, 5 is Texas, 6 is Alabama, 7 is Oregon, 8 is Missouri, 9 is Florida State, 10 is Louisville.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't even have words. I love it. Jonathan, what's your top 10?
Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Washington, Alabama, Texas, Florida State, Oregon, Louisville, Missouri.
Oh, my God. Okay. Let me give you mine. Oh, my God. You too. Oh, my God. The rabbit hole that you're in is full of garbage. Georgia, Michigan, and Ohio State, and you know somebody's falling out this week. Okay?
Yes.
Michigan and Ohio State. And Washington, Florida State, Oregon, and I think Oregon might be one of the top 2 teams in the country right now. Texas, Bama, Louisville, and Missouri. And I think Missouri is one of the top 5 teams in the country. But I put mine in here based on the probability that you can make the playoffs.
I'm not disagreeing with you. I mean, the reason why I've got Florida State dropping so low, and obviously Coach Matthews asked, are you saying the head coach is not important? I would not be saying the head coach is not important, but I'm going with lack of experience at the quarterback position. Should they beat Florida? Yes. Should they win the ACC? Yes. But when you look at it's all hypothetical, I guess you would say, is if Travis doesn't play all year, blah, 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 all this stuff. If he's playing 100%, they're arguably 3 because Michigan, Ohio State, one's got to lose. You know what I mean? They're going to be number 3 over Washington or whoever wins. I have a hard time believing that they're going to take a backup quarterback ACC champion over a one-loss Oregon Pac-12 champion if Oregon wins.
Okay.
Oregon's still not going to play Oregon State this week. They may lose. If Oregon loses, they're out. But I'm just going with a couple hypotheticals. Out with Travis out, I just don't see them being a top-tier team.
All right. My question is, and a statement, and Chuck, you chime in here, okay? My first initial thought is if to Ohio State Saturday, they will not, regardless of what happens the rest of the year, they will not let Michigan in.
Well, no, they won't let either one of them in my opinion. Whoever loses is out.
I might disagree with that, but I don't think there's any way that they're going to let Michigan in because they are piling on from everywhere. And the committee, there are human beings on this committee. It's not just a computer. So my first question, let me throw this to Chuck. If Michigan loses, are they eliminated?
From the playoff, yes.
From the playoff. And what is it? And is a large part of the reason because of what's happening there?
No, not the large part. Not the large part.
Really?
Yeah, it's the fact that what other conferences, they're trying their best to get 4 undefeated conference champions, top 4.
And I don't disagree with that. And that's where the argument with Florida State is. I understand Florida. Hey, once again, if Travis is in, I think Florida State has a legitimate chance to win the Natty. Without him, and I could be wrong, I just don't see it. That's
not what we're.
I get it, but you asked my top 10.
Yeah,
I'm giving you my top 10. And yes, there are human beings on there, so the human element goes into play. Does that make sense? The human element, whether we like it or not, good, bad, and different, comes into play. There are human beings. It's not a computer for 100% of it. So when they go behind closed doors, and we'll never know what they talk about, that comes into play of, all right, hypothetically speaking, do we want to see a Florida State without their star player with probably not the best overall team around him? The wide receiver's a dude. He is. Or do you want to see a Washington or an Oregon or possibly an Ohio State, Michigan rematch or something like that? That's what they're going to go with. I know that's not the popular opinion. Sorry, but that's just what it is. The human element goes, eye test, unproven. When he got hurt, it took them a while to take the lead on North Alabama. It took them a while to get rolling on North Alabama. You know what I mean? Like, to build the longevity in the powerhouse program, you normally don't miss a beat. Now, do I think that kid's going to be good? Yeah. But only time will tell with that one. That's why I think, personally, Michigan Ohio State losers out unless something crazy happens, obviously. Crazy things have happened on that weekend. If Oregon loses this weekend and then – if Oregon loses this weekend and then beats Washington, they're both out. Because Oregon would have 2 losses. So anything can happen is what I'm getting at. But I'm just going at status quo.
Well, let me, again, slow down a minute. Slow down. There's 5 undefeateds left. We're only going to have 4 after Saturday at the best. At the best.
I know.
Because Florida can beat Florida State. I'm not saying that they will. I'm thinking Florida State's going to win. But
let me talk to Mike Matthews here.
I think Chuck is saying that Florida is probably. Is that your upset special, or did I get you wrong?
Yeah.
Well, to answer the question for Coach Matthews, yes, that's what I'm saying. Look at Auburn in 03 or 04, undefeated, didn't get to make it in the national championship game. It happened before. Right. They didn't pass the quote unquote eye test back then.
With Michigan and Ohio State up at 2 and 3. One of them are going to be knocked out, and if Florida holds chalk on Saturday against Florida, you'll have your 4 undefeated teams, and that would be Georgia, the winner of the Ohio State-Michigan game, Washington. If Washington again wins, we say hold chalk, the higher ranked team, Washington plays Washington State, and Florida State. They would be your 4 undefeated teams. They would move up. Michigan or Ohio State, if they lose, will drop to 5 or 6.
Yes, but I'm just going with the human element of the committee. I get it. I'm not on the committee. I'm obviously y'all see how I would vote at the moment.
So God forbid.
Do people really want to see an absolute
Okay,
bloodbath?
then let me
Georgia,
go
Florida
back
State
and
number
ask you
start
guys
quarterback?
what you think on this, and anybody that wants to chime in on the conversation.
There's one caveat we have to look at before we move to that point, David.
What is it?
That caveat is if Michigan loses to number 2 Ohio State, that's a loss against a second-ranked team.
Yes,
Do they just revert?
that's. I don't know. that you
After
would keep them in-
championship week,
That's
maybe.
a great question. That's a
After
great
championship
question.
week, maybe. I don't think right now. If Washington wins and Florida State wins, I don't think you can this week. After the next week, maybe.
Okay.
So let's skip a week.
All right.
Let's say everybody holds serve, and then Michigan and Ohio State, the loser goes. Oh God, I hate saying this. It makes me throw up because really I don't care who wins or loses anymore, except for one team. No, God, no. Except for that one team. It's still personal to me till the day I die. If Alabama beats Georgia in Atlanta next Saturday, do you take Georgia and Alabama and put them in?
Well, Alabama would be in because of the conference championship.
Yes. So what do you do with Georgia?
But I think that depends on Washington. I think that depends on Washington and Oregon, right? Because they play. I think that depends on. I think it depends on Florida State, Louisville, because Louisville playing the way they played now makes the ACC championship game a lot more meaningful. With Louisville being ranked in the top 10 now.
Well, I'm going to disagree.
I'm just saying that would depend. Georgia losing would all depend on those 2 games for sure. The Texas-Oklahoma game, not as much because Oklahoma's out their starter and 2 losses. That, I hate to say it, this late in the year is not a great win for Texas. That does not help Texas.
Yeah, but they beat Alabama.
That has nothing to do with early in the year. History has shown you can say so-and-so beat so-and-so, so-and-so beat so-and-so. We've had this talk in our group text. Wins early in the year mean nothing until the end of the year rankings. I don't agree with it, but Chuck, this was your argument, and you're the one that proved that point. If you play like when South Carolina beat Tennessee last year, or that was the game we were number 1, I guess.
Right.
But we ended up the season 15th or whatever. Well, did South Carolina beat the number 1 or the number 15 team? By history, it shows the 15 team, not the 1 team. I don't agree with that. So if you're going to lose, you lose early, not late. And that's where Alabama got lucky right now. You would rather lose to Texas early than to Texas late.
All right. All right. Go ahead, Chuck. Then I'm going to ask a question.
So I agree with Jonathan. Is that if Bama can put a monkey wrench into this, we said last week, and we thought, well, maybe Tennessee had that shot against Georgia and upset, and that showed us that no matter how much we studied, that wasn't going to happen. But Alabama can legitimately play with Georgia. Georgia's the better team, but Alabama can legitimately play with Georgia. Yeah. Hang in there. And they can put a monkey wrench that could end up being 2 SEC and 2 Big Ten teams. I've gone over this scenario.
I know. Here's the one that I'm going to throw this one out there. Y'all ready? And I'm slightly, hate to say it, I'm slightly rooting for this scenario because I think it would be, fun for the moment, I guess you would say. So I'm just going to go down the rankings how they were last week. Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan. Okay. I'm going to the top 8. So Georgia plays the 8. 1 plays 8. 2 plays 3. 4 will play 10. 5 plays 6. 7 is the only one that does not play a top 10 team in the next 2 weeks. Okay. If Louisville wins out, Louisville has a chance to sneak in.
I thought about that.
If Louisville beats Kentucky, and
I
beat
thought
Florida
about
State,
all of that, but
they
Chuck,
have a legitimate. If they're the ACC champion, they're beating Ohio State. The loser Ohio State Michigan game, they're going to jump them because they both have one loss, conference champ.
yeah, but
Jonathan, I
It
never
would
looked at it from that angle, but man,
if Oregon beats Washington, for instance, do you take the Pac-12 or the ACC champion if they're both one loss? I'm kind of
lost to
that.
Pitt.
And yes, now listen, that is also a hypocritical statement from what I said about Florida State. Florida State to me is the eye test right now because their quarterback's out. I know that sounds awful, but that's just what it is. The eye test plays a role. If they went out, yes, they're going to be in. They would be out in my mind, but they're going to be in if they went out.
Right.
All right.
Well,
I think that to me, that's kind of cool because it would be if Alabama beats Georgia, could happen. If Oregon beats Washington, could happen. Right. Ohio State or Michigan, whoever loses, they got to play. So one's going to lose. If Louisville beats Kentucky and Florida State, they got a sneaky chance to go, oh, crap. Where'd they come from? Now they're going to get demolished by Georgia or Alabama, but
right.
But they lost to Pitt.
Take an argument, but the reason why your dad and I said the top 8 is we did not look at 9 and 10, but you just made the case for Louisville possibly sneaking in. Has to have a lot.
It's got to have a lot to happen. They do.
But
they got to have a lot of help, but crazier things have happened.
I can see that.
Because Oregon has a legit chance to beat Washington. They lost by 3 earlier. And they had a chance to beat them at the end, right? Ohio State, Michigan, they got to play this week, so obviously one's got to lose. Alabama has a legitimate chance to beat Georgia, like they do. And then let's see. Then Texas has to play Oklahoma. Even if Texas wins, I still think Louisville's win over Kentucky and Florida State ranked in the top 4 is a better win than Texas beating Oklahoma in the championship game. And I think they would jump them. I do.
Okay. All right. Chuck?
I think he's got a brilliant. He made a brilliant case for Louisville. I think that there's chaos, and it all I think hinges on Bama beating Georgia, and then chaos ensues.
Yes.
And just with that one, all tumblers. If Alabama beats Georgia, then the 8, 9, and 10 are in the hunt for the Final Four spot.
I'm going to disagree. Missouri wouldn't have a chance because they're 2-loss non-conference champion.
By the way, guys, the CFP poll was Georgia 1, Ohio State 2, Michigan 3, and Washington 4. The CFP playoff poll just came out.
So guys, that's what I'm trying to say, and I know that it's not popular opinion. Florida State is going to drop because of the eye test now. They are. Is it right? No. And I've said that even before. It is what it is. If their quarterback Travis is playing, they would jump to probably 2 after they would have a chance to jump to 2 after next week.
Guys, we are guilty. We're guilty of this. And I watch a lot of these so-called pundits, and they're guilty of this. Nobody's mentioning Texas.
No, I'm not, because I don't think they're one of the best teams.
I think they are.
Okay, guys, they got interviewed a few weeks ago. After the first or second week of the playoff rankings, the chairman even said, "Eye test will come into play. Conference champ comes into play, but eye test will come into play." They have struggled against the likes of Kansas State. They have. That's going to hurt Texas. It really is. Like, if I pull their stuff up real quick, I know they're 10-1. I get it, but lately they struggled against a bad TCU. They barely beat a Kansas State. They struggled against Iowa State. The last 3 weeks they have not played good football. You want to play not good football weeks 1 through 6.
All right, let me stop you both real quick, because there's some other things in college football I want to talk about. Right. But if the playoffs, if you had your crystal ball and we're next Saturday night, give me who's in. Chuck, who's in? Give me the 4 that you believe are going to be in next Saturday night.
Bama, Georgia, Michigan, Texas.
So you got Texas jumping Washington and Oregon.
Okay, let me tell you who I got, and then you go, Jonathan. And say that one more time, Chuck.
No, Jonathan made a good point here. All right.
Give me yours.
Georgia, Bama,
Oh,
Georgia, Michigan, and I'm going to hold with Washington at that in there. They're going to win out. So I'm going to hold 2 SEC, a Big Ten, and a Pac-12.
all right. Before you go, Jonathan, I've got Georgia, the Michigan Ohio State winner, and I think.
Well, no. Well, you got to say who you're thinking though. Who is it?
Okay, then I'm going to do what I've done all year. I'm going to go Michigan because they play defense.
Because
I got
here's the thing:
Georgia, Michigan,
the winner of
Washington, and Oregon. I think Oregon is as good or better than.
Hold on,
anybody.
you got Washington and Oregon.
Yeah.
Do you have a one-loss Washington non-conference champion going in?
It's going to be a heck of a conference championship game.
Because
Chuck,
for
he had to drink on that because I've blown his. I just blew his mind.
You are so anti-Alabama. It's
You
ridiculous.
bet your ass.
Well, no, but
it's as brutal as I know how to be. I don't care
whoever wins.
if their bus caught on fire. I
Hey,
don't
stop
want
it.
anybody to get hurt.
Nah,
I don't
If
want
anybody-
anybody to get hurt, but I'd like to
Right.
see them on the side of the road thumbing to go to their next ball game.
give it up.
But the reality is, whoever wins Ohio State, Michigan is going to beat the brakes off of Iowa in the championship game. Just hard to watch that one. But
Give me your four.
Oh, I got Georgia. I'm gonna go in order. Georgia 1. Okay, because I'm gonna break it down to go 1 through 4, and then who I think is gonna win that one. I got Georgia at 1, Ohio State 2. Sorry, Chuck.
That's all right.
It hurts me. No, I have a deep hatred for Ohio State. I have no clue why, but
You've been around
I
Chuck
think-
for 20
I think
years.
not
It's
having-
his fault.
I think not having Harbaugh on the sideline this week hurts. I do.
Got it.
I got Georgia, Ohio State. Oh, God, this is gonna hurt because I don't want this to happen. John Taylor, I'm sorry, bud. I am. Oregon 3. That hurts me. And then I could see it. I don't want to see it, and then Texas 4. Georgia beating the brakes off of Texas. And I got Georgia, Oregon, and the Natty.
Okay, before you go any further, one of you've got a computer there. We know the 1 through 4. Who did the CFP drop? Did they drop Florida State to 5 or 6?
Hold on, I got you.
Hold on. I'll flip my television. I'll look up here. No, it's
Because
a
it
commercial.
jumped
I can't-
Florida State with Washington in the 4.
John Taylor, tell us who that is.
I'm pulling it up.
Too. Okay.
All right, we got Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Washington, Florida State 5, Oregon 6, Texas 7, Alabama 8, Missouri 9, Louisville 10. Which
Pretty
I'm
much what
surprised.
we have.
I'm surprised that they've got Louisville still ranked behind Missouri, but they do.
Here's the-
Because go ahead, Chuck.
Big Dog, if the Big Dog just hold chalk through the championship Saturday, you're
Then
looking
that's
at
it.
Top 4 right now. You're looking at
Well,
your top
well,
4 right
No. Because Ohio
Yes.
State, Michigan have to play each other. Ohio State, Michigan have to play each other. That's where
Is, it's the only conference. It's the 2 teams. If Michigan loses, do they go and flip Washington and put Michigan at 4?
No, not over. I don't think so. And I could be wrong, but not over an ACC or
Without
a
the
Big
quarterback?
12
They
or a
just-
Big 12 champion. No, I get it. But I'm saying without a big. No, but let's say Florida State stays the same and they went out. If Texas wins out, I still think if Texas wins, they would still have a better case than the loser of Michigan, Ohio State, because they have said conference championship matters now. History shows it doesn't matter.
Right, and that's
History
my
shows
point.
it doesn't. But they've tried to make that prevalent this year by saying it matters now. for whatever reason.
Well,
and the last one, they want to say it matters when they've shown it hasn't. But then because Michigan or Ohio State, the loser's case is to go, I lost to the number 2 and or number 3 team in the country.
Right. And so that's my only thing is, although they won't be conference champions, they could sneak in at 4 if Washington holds serve, and then Michigan, the loser of Michigan, Ohio State, goes to 4. We have had history show that if you're in that top 4, particularly the top 3, and you lose on championship Saturday or the final game of the regular season, in case of Michigan, Ohio State, you don't drop a lot.
No, well, and I mean,
I got 2 points.
You actually are proving, you're actually making a good case for this. I was pulling it up because who's Texas's only loss to?
Alabama.
No, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
And then they go, well, Oklahoma has lost to a bad Kansas.
Right.
And now to a very subpar Oklahoma State.
Right.
So that doesn't help their resume.
Right. But here's my point.
So I'm not a Texas fan when it comes to this stuff.
Right.
I don't think Texas should be in. I don't think they're one of the top 4 teams. I don't. I think they're a fraud. I do. And I've been open about that. Or at least this year, I think they are. No, I mean, you're not wrong in the sense of, because then they could go, well, my loss was to number 2 or number 3, whichever one loses. Right. Texas's loss was to a very subpar Oklahoma. How do we not get in over that one? We couldn't play in our championship game with 1 loss, but you have a very horrendous Iowa team getting to play in the championship game, so we couldn't redeem ourselves.
Right. So,
but it's also why I've said conference championship games are meaningless now.
Right. So
well, they are. Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
The championship, but here's the thing: with Boo Corrigan, the AD at NC State, is the chairman of this, and when Florida State lost their quarterback, so they're without the quarterback, in the very next poll, they dropped them down from 4 to 5. They won, but they dropped them down to from 4 to 5. Michigan's been without their head football coach, and they if they lose, and they lose to the number 2 team,
that's a fair argument. That's a fair argument.
I'm with you. I'm on the same page. I'm just going off of what the committee has said. They're going to value conference championships, blah, 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 blah. Even though in the past, they've shown they haven't. When Ohio State won it, they didn't play in the Big Ten championship game. They didn't. So they've shown.
I'm not trying.
No, you're good, Chuck. I get what you're saying. But right. I go back to what Jonathan just said, that the championship games really don't matter. Well, it does in the SEC right now.
Well, no, it does. But here's what I'm saying.
It does this Saturday.
I know, but here's why I'm saying they don't matter. Here's why. Let's say Alabama wins.
Oh God!
Hold on. Alabama wins. Washington wins. Okay. Michigan, Ohio State, whoever. There's 2. Florida State, 3rd. They will take Texas because they're the next team in. So if Georgia has I'm not being funny. Georgia has a chance to lose and not get in. If that happens, there will be an implosion of the NCAA. So regardless, and I've said this for years now, if you're an SEC team and you're undefeated going into the championship week, don't play. Don't play. You have nothing to gain.
Excellent.
You have nothing to gain, especially against somebody that is going to play in Iowa, who's bad, and you're having to play a Georgia or an Alabama or somebody like that.
Right.
Or, you know what I'm saying? Or Texas having to play Oklahoma.
Here's where I'm going with this, okay? And I'll just make the simple statement to it, is that if no matter Michigan and Ohio State, the winner is obviously in. The loser will be in. They'll just redefine the 1, 2, and 3, and 4. The loser will go to 4, and the winner will stay at. If it's Ohio State, they'll stay at 2. If it's Michigan, they'll go to 2, and Ohio State goes to 4. Washington jumps up to 3, and then Georgia. Here's the thing: if Georgia wins, and whoever, that's defining the 1 through 4. Now, The one team that can put a monkey wrench in it and knock out the lone loser of the Michigan-Ohio State is Alabama. If Alabama beats Georgia, the number one ranked team on championship Saturday, and wins the SEC championship, the loser of the Michigan-Ohio State is out. And
See,
Alabama,
I'm gonna disagree in this way. I think that scenario is correct. There's one more scenario, and it's kind of hypocritical to what I said earlier. I think they're out, but Florida State wins out. You can't put Ohio State, Michigan loser in. You can't. I think they should be out because of the eye test. But you cannot take a 13. You cannot take a 13-0 ACC champion and not put them in over one loss, even though it's the number 2 or 3 non-conference championship playing team. I don't think they should be in. I've said that earlier.
Well, let me say this.
That's gonna be an argument because if they don't, there will be like riots in the street.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this. This is just the serious in me. If Alabama with a small A beats Georgia in Atlanta Saturday, Angels will lose their wings.
oh, stop.
No, but I mean, but you know what I'm saying. Like,
because here's the thing.
Scenario,
you're going to take
the scenario that once again I've said it. I don't think Florida State should be in because of the eye test without their quarterback. But is that going to stop the committee? Probably not, because Florida State's proven that they've proven to play well all year. If this kid comes out and lights it up against Florida, you go, oh shoot, like me, I'll go, damn, I was wrong. Like this week will say a lot for Florida State.
I think that it will. I think the 4 teams that are in now, 1 through 4, it'll either hold chalk, and the loser of the Michigan-Ohio State will be redistributed. Will drop down to.
They'll just go to 4.
The 4, okay, and that's we're looking at your final 4. Now
you're looking at an undefeated team staying home.
Right.
That's what they're not going to do a 13-0 undefeated team not going.
No, let Chuck finish.
And because they have lost their quarterback, and it's evident that the committee made this statement tonight when they took Florida State, who has been all season long at 4, and I kept saying they're overrated, and all of a sudden they lose their quarterback, and the college football committee says we're dropping them to 5.
I mean, they made a statement without having to say anything.
They already dropped them out.
I agree with that, but it's the simple fact of after this week, Florida State wins this week. If that happens, Washington wins. And if Georgia beats Georgia State this week, those 3 teams win, right? The loser of this game will drop to 5, not 4 this week.
Well, I will say this,
and I say that because they'll bump Florida State back in. They've done it to Alabama before. They'll bump Florida State back into number 4. It'll go Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan winner, Washington, Florida State, Ohio State, Michigan loser at 5. Then Texas and Alabama.
Okay, hold on.
Then Florida State, based on what you just said, based on how they play against Florida.
Yes, that's the thing. If it's a struggle and it's a last second, they may drop to 6.
Right.
Because and we're going to move on, but before we do, Washington's got to play really well to win this week. And with John Taylor, we have been on the bandwagon since the bowl game last year. We gave him our word. I haven't deviated. I've kind of wavered at points because they can't play defense. But I will say this. I don't see any way that they can play defensively with Oregon. Oregon is really, really good. And they're playing with a 26-year-old guy at quarterback that's played.
I get it. Well, both teams are
60 games in college
both teams
football.
Are playing with old quarterbacks. But here's the game of the week. Oregon State. I got Oregon State. Hey guys, Oregon State's pretty damn good.
At Oregon State?
No.
It's at Oregon State.
No, it's at Oregon.
No, I don't see that happening.
No, because I'm telling Listen, last week, John, I'm sorry. They should have beat Washington. The pouring rain, all this stuff affected the game plan. But, dude, DJ ran that offense very well. They kept Washington off the whole third quarter. Washington only had like 6 plays because Oregon State said, we're going to methodically do what we want with you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Oregon can play offense. Oregon cannot play defense. Oregon State might be able to run the ball and do what they did to Washington, as long as good weather, depending, obviously, because some throws were getting away from him because it was a torrential downpour. But if Oregon State can control the ball, sometimes the best defense is a good offense. And I think Oregon State's got a shot this week. I do. I mean, hell, they're ranked 16th.
Okay, let's check one more word, and then we're gonna move on.
No, a lot of chaos could happen this week and next week. So,
and I'm going to talk because we, it's something we started the year on, and it's kind of imploded up in Boulder. Colorado was the talk of the college football world. All the good things that they were doing, and I'm not dogging on Deion, but I will say this: a football team, a football program is more than just a few guys that you put some bullcrap thing on their jersey.
They don't have any dudes yet. They don't. Now, granted, they got to get them there, but they don't have.
But the thing, and I get that. But I go back and some of the guys inside the program are now they're questioning publicly. One of them in particular, I don't know who it is. He's a running back, and he said, we got a really good football team here, but it's more about there's more than just a couple of guys on this team, and the culture of I know they work hard and they do all that stuff. But sometimes the flash and the glitz and the money and the jewels and the Rolls Royces are not what college athletics is about.
But that's not that. That's hold on. That's a lot more. That's a lot other places than Colorado.
Yeah,
go back and look what Go back and look what he said. I'm not going to pay you to come here. I'll get you paid with NIL when you get here. But guess what? That's because of your play. That ain't because of what I'm gonna go do. So the kids get their own NIL deals because of their play there, not, David and Chuck, please, I'm going to get you this to come here, blah, blah. Deion has been open. I'm not going to pay you to come here. It ain't going to happen. I'm not about that. You're going to come here, you're going to have to bust your butt. He had the top 2 or 3 recruit in the country in a corner, and he wasn't playing because he said he's not practicing hard enough. To me, it sounds like, and this is from reading on the articles too, the kids got to stop being a little bit less soft and understand that sometimes constructive criticism isn't a negative thing.
Yeah, that's that Cormani kid.
Yes. No, and he was thrust into action with an injury, and he played well. But he even said, he goes, he's not ready to play until he practices hard, till he understands the game plan, till he goes to class. I'm not going to play you. So to me, it's one of those setting a standard that sometimes you got to take your bumps and bruises to show them I'm not going to waver from my standard. I'm not going to waver from the demands that I make within myself and within my coaching staff and my program to say just because you think you're good don't mean you're going to have to play.
You sound like a coach.
I like Coach Prime, and I think that he if he would have gone in and shut his mouth and tried to build, and said, all right, we're going to build, he'd have been cast in oblivion. But what he did was made Colorado, he brought the limelight and spotlight to Colorado. Now,
watch this. What did Lane Kiffin do at Tennessee? Y'all want me to tell you his first team meeting?
What?
December 1st, 2008. Hey, by the way, this was all before all the crazy social media. Half of you won't be here when spring practice comes because I'm going to run you off.
That's what I'm saying.
No, you're not going to be here because you're not going to work as hard as I want you to work. Oh, by the way, then the ones that are still here when fall camp comes, everybody gets a shot, walk on or 5-star freshman. You might not be here because you might not like what you hear. Oh, by the way, anything that I say in the media right now, any publicity is good publicity. Does that not sound like Deion?
Yes, it's exactly.
And that's a team meeting we had December 1st, 2008. But everybody loves Lane Kiffin.
Right. I love
Everybody
Coach
loves
Whoa,
Lane
whoa, whoa,
Kiffin.
whoa,
No,
whoa, whoa.
no. What I'm saying is there's no difference. Dion is just flashy. But by God, Dion's dudes work. They have no dudes on that team. You know how hard it is for him to recruit to go to Colorado from the history of Colorado in the past 15 to 18 years, 20 years?
Right.
Colorado was, dude, if he goes to Cincinnati, he's going to compete for the Big 12 pretty soon.
It may be longer.
Because Cincinnati was already up. He took a 1-11 team with horrendous Pac-12 style type players and brought in his people that had not played at that level and said, guys, you're going to be thrust into action and y'all got to man up and go play. It is what it is. Take your bumps and bruises now because we're going to win later, but I'm going to put this on you to take these bumps and bruises because we're going to suck. But I'm going to tell people we're not going to suck.
Right. I get you. I like Coach Prime. I think he's going to do a great job. At the beginning of the year, I got it wrong in terms of where he was going to start. The flash and pageantry and the talking and the glitz helped them win. And also they had some really weak opponents. But
yeah, the TCU win doesn't look so great now, obviously.
Right. But coming around,
No, I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know. Coming around now and looking at their record is what they got talent wise.
Yeah,
He'll build.
Come back,
no,
boys.
guys, he ain't gonna be there long. Somebody's gonna pay him.
Michigan State's gonna pay him. I tried to tell my brother, Michigan State.
Hey, no, and I'm not being funny.
Come on now.
Do not. No, I'm not saying he's gonna go, but don't put it outside of the realm of possibility that he's in the SEC next year. A&M is willing to pay money to get they right now. A&M right now is what Tennessee was when I was going.
Okay.
They have a big name. They got a big name with a washed up coach that can't get the recruits and came to play for him, so they get rid of him. We got rid of him 4 years too late. But besides the point, they need a revamp. They know they need a revamp. Today's the day, and I don't like it, though. Today's the day of social media, all this crap. Tennessee does it. I don't like it, but they bring Lamborghinis and Ferraris or whatever type of cars down into the stadium, let recruits. I think that's stupid. That's an opinion. You know what I mean? That's just me. But Texas A&M knows they need somebody that can go, when I go sit in the house with mom and daddy or grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, whoever wants to be there, that the mom and daddy go, I know you. I know who you are. You're so-and-so. Why would I want my son to come play for you? Because then he can go, because I was the best that ever did it at my position, and look what I've got. That's what A&M needs. And it hurts me to say that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they made a big push for him.
No, they may make a push, but if he goes, his boys got to sit out a year if they transfer. It's their second transfer.
Don't matter. They would just leave to go to the draft anyway. Well, if his quarterback son leaves, he'll be a late first round draft pick as a quarterback right now.
Jonathan.
He would.
Jonathan.
He would. Who's better than him?
Go, don't do that.
No. Let's go look at offensive systems from what he runs. Drake May and Caleb Williams. Night and day difference. He actually goes through progressions. He does.
I'm going to write that in this planner. What's today?
He goes through progressions. Drake May does not. That's Carolina system. Caleb Williams sure as hell does not. That's Southern Cal system. Who else you got better than him?
A late first rounder.
If he left right now, who else is better than him right now?
Question: Would Dion, if he was a late first rounder, Shedeur, would Dion follow him to the NFL?
Now I'll tell you what my prediction was. Here was my prediction prior to everything kind of going down. And me and Tasha went to Denver for Christmas last year, and I didn't know how close Denver and Boulder were. Boulder's beautiful, by the way. Didn't know how close they were. And we were leaving there, and I was like, you know what, babe? I was like, watch this happen. Denver might try to ride out this Russell Wilson thing until Shedeur's ready. Denver drafts him, and that's how they're able to keep – that's how Colorado's able to keep Dion because they're 25 minutes down the road. And then he has open access to the Broncos, and the Broncos go, ooh, that's not a bad thing. That was my prediction before this football season. was that whatever year he left, they would try to ride out the Russell Wilson deal until he's ready, take him when they could take him, and then that Colorado's going, please do this because now we can keep Dion in Boulder because they're legit like 25 minutes away.
You buying this, Dave?
That's my prediction.
Look, I have learned in that he's not going to say something just off the top of his head. He's going to put thought into it. Now, whether it comes true or not, I don't know. But I admire his passion and his the forcefulness with which he speaks on these things. How does that sound?
Good.
Now,
that means he thinks it sounded like dog crap.
no. So, God, I love this. This is some Tuesday nights are the best for me. I love this. So,
well, it sucks that I'm not practicing still, so I figured I'd just come hang out.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of that, we getting ready already?
For two.
Are we getting ready?
You what?
Are we
I don't know
getting
what's
ready?
going on.
Two.
I don't speak of these things.
Okay.
Okay.
I've lost control. I've totally lost control. First of all, Coach Matthews, be safe in Florida. Happy Thanksgiving. Can't wait for you to get back. Bring the car by so we can sell it for you. That's the thing. But anyway, you've messed me up, Jonathan. I had it all planned.
We got West.
Hey, listen. Someday, what is it? Failing to plan is planning to fail. There, Dave. Come on now. You know if I'm here, things are going off the wall.
Okay, so
you got to have like 14 scripts here.
But I will tell you this real quick before we go talk about Western and Alma College. When he was talking about Coach Kiffin, I think he took what day did he take the job, son?
Well, the meeting was December 1st.
But he called you that night after his press conference, and you met with him privately at the facility at about midnight. He called you in, and that was a eye opener. But I never heard, talked, didn't do anything. It wasn't my job. And spring practice, did y'all start spring practice in March or February or whatever?
Somewhere in that range, because it's always different with Tennessee weather. One day you may get summer, one day you may get.
But Chuck, and I might have called you. They had their first practice of spring practice, and this that night, I just remember it was cold because we had a fire in the fireplace, and my cell phone rang, and it was a number that I did not recognize. And by then, I did not like talking to anybody in the media that had called and wanted to talk about Jonathan. I was kind of in shell shock after 2008. So anyway, the phone rings, and I didn't recognize it. And I said, well, I'll answer it. And I picked up the phone, and I didn't go hello. I said, hey, this is David. And his voice on the other end goes, David Crompton, how are you? Lane Kiffin. And I said, I'm doing well, Coach. How are you? He said, listen, y'all hadn't been off the field long. It was around dark. It was dark. And he goes, hey, listen, whatever you read in the press that I say, I just need you to hear from me what's happening here. I tried to recruit this kid at Southern Cal, and he told me no. I know what I saw on film from the time he was a freshman in high school. And he said, I've been watching film of this last year, and I don't know who that kid is. He said, but I'm gonna get the kid that I saw on film back. So no matter what you read, no matter what you hear, he's gonna be, I believe in him. And today I saw everything I needed to see today. So whatever the stuff that comes out of my mouth, it is what it is. But we're going to ride or die with him. And I just want you to make sure that you knew that. And I thought that was pretty classy. That was just on top of what Jonathan had said. And since then, I've always been in his corner, regardless. And unless the night that he left wasn't a good night. But that's that's long gone, and there's a lot of mustard and golf balls that took place since then.
What about them Western Carolina Cats?
Yeah. So the Cats, their quarterback got hurt early in the game, and that was pretty much Katie barked at the door. They were done, and you weren't going to get in. They just weren't going to get in after they lost to VMI on Saturday. They'll go back. They'll regroup. They'll reload. He'll go find him some more dudes to play. And I don't know what year the quarterback is. Is he young? I don't keep up with it that much.
Gentlemen,
No, we're not
I
going
guess
to talk
go.
about that.
No, I gotta
see you
go.
later. All right,
Well,
see
I
ya.
don't root for him, so it don't matter.
All right, see you.
Bye.
So, but I don't know what year that quarterback is. So, but he's a good football player, and they certainly missed him on Saturday, Chuck. They certainly missed him on Saturday.
How can you? I mean, it's just almost like you step back and go, "Are we in a twilight zone for this program?" They get to the top 5. They get into the game against Furman. They don't drop far after losing to Furman. They have their destiny in their own hand, and it collapsed. It collapsed.
Well, I'm not going to call it collapsing. I'm just saying, injuries. And when you're injured, and especially at the quarterback spot, and you don't have another dude ready to go, those things are going to happen. But it was a valiant effort. The kid made some plays at the end. He got concussed. He got knocked out and came right back in the football game. Never missed a play after they called the timeout, and still had a chance to win at the end. But they're going to regroup. This guy's a good football coach.
Yes,
Now, I'm not going to sit here and the recruiting thing. It's his program. He does what he wants.
right.
But he's going to go find some dudes, and I think they're going to be very competitive next year. The shock in the Southern Conference to me is what happened in Johnson City on Sunday morning when they let Coach Quarles go after 2 years. That's the shock to me when they brought him in from but he won 11 state championships at Maryville, right over here, right outside of Knoxville. Went to Furman as the offensive coordinator, and they brought him to ETSU when Randy retired, and you would have thought that he'd be there a while. And man, that was, to me, that was a shock. But there's a lot of things in play that we probably don't know about. I know that they've struggled with transfers. I know that they struggle with NIL, that their kids aren't getting any money. And so that's, it's a new time and a new age. But I didn't see that coming in from Johnson City for East Tennessee State, their football program. I didn't see it. Maybe you did.
No,
but I sure as heck didn't. And now I'm not going to talk about it on here tonight, but what I sent you.
right.
And I believe that is in play. And I believe that a lot of that is coming down from the city down south. But that's just, but we're going to learn soon in Johnson City. But what's your thoughts? I changed the subject a little bit, but what are your thoughts on the Cats as they move forward?
Well, they got to get more dudes. Jonathan was right. You got to go get dudes, just like Colorado. Is that when you get to that point, is that it tells you how close Kerwin Bell has Western Carolina University. We are all, most of us, I think, are all rooting for them. But the bottom line is you got to get more dudes. It's depth. If you got problems with depth, you got to fulfill depth. You got to prevent your transfers and guys leaving the program, because all you're doing is you're just it's a wash when you get new recruits in. It's not good depth. Everybody has depth. Do you have good depth? And I think right now he does not have good depth. When somebody goes down, they don't have good depth. So he's really got to focus on hard and getting those quality players that can fill that depth and whether. And to me, the quick fix is hit the transfer portal.
Well, yeah, and you know, because the world has changed, and I
Right.
don't think a lot of folks understand that you know, because there's a lot of kids that can play on Saturdays that are getting not overlooked, but they're going, look, I can get Johnny from over here at Sunshine Tech that's going to come in here and start immediately, or I can go get this 17-year-old that's going to take 2 or 3 years.
Right.
And, you know, and it's a trickle down thing, like trickle down economics. And it's just started. Now it's really showing, because once these COVID kids get gone, and this might be the last year, maybe a few next year, but once all these COVID kids are out of here, I think a majority of these guys are going to be veterans, because you look at Wake Forest last year. Wasn't it Wake Forest that just played so well with 23 and 24-year-olders?
The players they're playing with are somewhat veterans, 20, 21, 22, but they're very inexperienced. They're veterans on the program, but they're not veterans on the field. And plus, we have problems at quarterback. Guys that have sat 2 and 3 years behind Hartman were not ready.
What was that again?
So you don't have these things that you can push a button and say, we're going to keep it rolling. This is a eye-opening experience for a lot of schools, because this transfer portal and the COVID year. I think the COVID year is more damaging. It's going to have an effect on a negative effect, because there's so many kids that are going to be left out of going to college.
Or I agree. Or how many kids, and this is, again, you know, if I don't root like I used to, you know, I mean, I pull for Tennessee every Saturday because my son left his blood, sweat, and tears on that field. I love, you know, I pull for the SEC except for one team. But I go, how many kids these days have the character that kid from Georgia, the quarterback at Georgia, how many kids would have stayed for 3 and 4 years to be the backup instead of taking the easy way out?
Yeah.
And look at where he is now.
Right.
You know,
that's an oddity, David. That's an oddity.
Oh, you know, you know, again, there was no transfer portal back when Jonathan was playing, but I distinctly remember a phone call that I got from a coach on the staff at Tennessee that said, we know he won't leave. We know that he will never leave us. And if we let him push the other kid like we know that he can, the other kid's going to run. He'll leave here, and we have to have them both. Those kids with that kind of character are hard to find now. Right. I'm not saying that's wrong. I think character is the wrong word. I apologize for saying that.
Well,
character is not the word, and I should not have said that. But whatever it is to say, I don't. You know, instant gratification is what everyone is looking for now. Instead of, let me go earn this thing, let me wait my time, and I'll be better in the end. Because, you know,
we are having kids here in this particular area. People would think, well, you have Western Carolina right down the road, and you have all these kids that have college material. They're college bound. They can go play at the next level. The vast majority of them, over 90% of them, can play Division III. Sorry. But you go ask those kids, unfortunately, you live in a state where Division III is almost worse than junior college. And you got to go above the Mason-Dixon line. And I was talking to a player 2 weeks ago, and I was trying to, you know, we were talking about going to Elma College. And he says, you know, it's a long ways. And I said, it's an adventure. I said, you know, once you graduate, you're going to move away from this area within 4 years. You're going to go out to California, you're going to go to New York, or you're going to go to Ohio, or wherever you're going to go. You're going to go. What's holding you here? The paper mill? Oh, that's closed. You're going to leave. You might as well cut the ties and go and find yourself a place where you can fulfill getting a degree and playing a collegiate sport. And
then come home if you want.
And then come home with a degree in hand and do what you want. But the thing is that once you cut off that, you're a Division III level player. And once you cut that off because you don't want to go away from home and you're going to sit and wait for Western and Clemson and NC State and Wake Forest and Tennessee over the mountain, Virginia Tech, some schools that are within 3-hour drives, they ain't calling you. If they're not calling you now, they're not calling.
Yeah. And the way that it's set up now is they're you got to be a guy. You got to be a dude really early because they're going to look in the transfer portal.
There, David, in lies the great thing is that, or not the great thing, but therein lies the great problem is that these kids are Division III. You know your level, maybe Division II. But there are so many Division I football players at the bottom level of the 4s and the 3 stars that are 200, 300, 400 of them that are getting missed because of the COVID and the transfer portal. And the Division II schools are gobbling those kids up. So Division II looks at D2 kids and they're like, wait a minute, we can pull this D1 to our place. Coach, we don't need that kid anymore. We got this kid that nobody was calling, and he was a D1 player.
Here's the prime example. The kid, and again, I don't keep up with their names. You do a hell of a lot better job of that than I. I just know, number 7 from Missouri, their running back, the leading rusher in the SEC. Probably, if you just want to get down to it, the best all-around football player in the Southeastern Conference. He blocks well from running back. He catches the ball. He never comes out of the game. This kid, he Division II football player. The only offer he had.
Right.
He played D2 football. And then and then Missouri came to him and said, we think you can help us. He's fixing to be a first-round draft choice. Because he put the time in, he put the effort in, he went someplace where he could play and got better.
Right.
And now look at him. If you saw him play against Tennessee 2 weeks ago, it's hard to sit here and say in the SEC football game, regardless if it's Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, when you look on the field and go, that dude is a man. And everybody else is a boy today. That's how well this kid played in every phase of the football game. And he was the only thing that anybody ever taught. He got a Division II offer, and that was it.
Right.
And that goes back to what you were saying.
It reminds me of Coach Clausen when he was asked about the lack of getting 4 and 5 stars. He goes, wait a minute. He said, we can recruit a kid that is a 2-star and a 1-star, or a 2-star and a 3-star. And if he will work really hard, and we work really hard in coaching him and developing him, we can make the 2-star into a high 4-star. Maybe we can make that 3-star into a 5-star. So if you go and play, and your goal is to play college football, you can, if you're not having the door knocked down right now, chances are you're going to be standing out in the cold. You got to start looking at all your options and saying to yourself, all the kids that are looking, watching the program, if you are a desire to go play college football, you got to have plan A, B, C, D, and E. Plan A is play Division I. If it ain't there, jump to plan B. Plan D may be Division III. You got to have some D3 options if
Because
that's what the desire is.
yes, because remember that show Cheers?
Yes.
And Norm walked in the bar one night because it's a brutal thing. College sports is brutal. College football is brutal at every level. And then Norm walked in and they said, "Norm, how's it going?" And he goes, "It's a dog eat dog world, and I'm wearing milk bone underwear." And I say that to say it is brutal, and they are brutally honest. They are brutally honest. Now, do they want you to come to their camp and spend their money? Yes.
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 And tell you all the nice things, and then they'll sit there and all of a sudden they disappear because they recruit. Remember when we were talking with Wagner, and Wagner said, "We have over 200 offers out." And I stopped and said, "Offers? You can't sign all 200." He goes, "No, the percentages are we'll end up signing 20 of them." And so it's once we start filing in with the commitments to sign, we start dropping everybody else. Now,
Yep.
I know kids around here that have that desire that are not there. If that's when the D3 programs recruit. D2's right now recruiting the kids. They look at a guy and say, "Jimmy Jones, you're lanky, you're twitchy. I think you can be something. Who's recruiting you?" And he looks and says, "Nobody." D2 says, "I got you." And so
That's
now
right.
he has interest.
That's why
But
Coach Pfeiffer's not here tonight.
Right, but they don't offer the scholarship. I tell kids this is a rule of thumb to listen. We like you. Like means they like you. Love you, they offer you a scholarship. They only love about 20, 25 kids. Like you, if you want to come here, you can walk on. I just don't have a scholarship for you. There goes the brutal business that you talked about. So here's the thing is that kids have got to have options, and they got to look at their parents and go, "I'm going to be leaving home eventually.
Yeah. I'm going to come home with a degree."
And I will tell you, my goal, my path was already in place to go to West Point. And I was a homebody. And I went on a whim to Elma and loved it. But I'm from Flint, Michigan, and went to Elma, Michigan. Where do I live today? I left home after college. I left home. And I'm not going back. I don't want to go live there. I love the place, but I love North Carolina. It took me a while to get down here. Great people. But opportunities to provide you to play college sports and to get a degree. And here's the neat thing about D3, and I'll say this last thing. They encourage you to play 2 sports. How about that one?
That's it. Because like people see like some of the stuff if you come to my office, and you see the jerseys and you see the stuff down there because that's just kind of part of what our business marketing part was when Jonathan came home. But if you go down in my den and you see you see a picture of my daughter holding her piece of paper, and you see a picture of my son holding that piece of paper, all the other stuff really doesn't mean a hell of a lot. And the object here is to get your degree. And
Right.
if you can do it and play ball and there ain't nothing better. Ain't nothing better. You heard Coach Pfeiffer last week talk about that picture in his office. They weren't in their football uniforms. They were in their cap and gowns. And that means more to him than anything. So, yeah, and it's tough at 17, 18 years old to be told you can't play at this level.
Right.
Or not to be told, but just to be ignored.
Well, that's the whole point. I can take a yes. I want the yes. I can take a no. At least I know where I stand. The maybes is, but coach, you said you like me. Yeah, you're on our supplemental list. No school has a supplemental list. They tell you it's a supplemental list. That's if somebody drops out, you're on some list that they'll pull out of the drawer and say, who do we get now? This kid wants to come here. Do we go get him, or do we go now to the transfer portal? Kids today coming out of high school are competing for a one spot from kids out of the transfer portal
against
and
men.
other school kids.
Against men.
Against men. You're a young man competing against a grown man.
Yeah.
That's transferred schools, and all the coach wants to know is he can help us immediately. I can fix my problem. So,
because if you go back, can we stop you for a second?
Yeah.
Because the coaches, and let's go back to the Southern Conference for a second. This Coach Quarles signed a 5-year contract at East Tennessee State University. He is the winningest high school coach in the history of the state of Tennessee. He lasted 22 football games. And now they got to pay him $270,000 a year. They're going to pay him $270,000 a year not to coach.
right.
Listen to that. Not to coach. Now, do you think for 1 second that they're going to, the way that it's all set up now, that you're going to go, I got this kid that's a borderline guy, and I got this 21-year-old that's going to come in and start immediately because I want to keep my job. Right?
Right.
Right. So the world, even though, the things back, and I can remember before you came, and we're running long, but it's our show. We can stay on here till midnight.
Well, I mean, come on.
Yeah, but
We still got to talk about Elman.
yeah, we are. But two things come to mind, and that's where I try to tell folks, and they know pretty early. Like we were in, there was a camp, 2 camps. There was 2 camps, or one camp and a big function thing. We went to Raleigh. We went to Raleigh at NC State, and they had just built that new facility down there, and there were 300 or 400 kids and parents, and everybody's around, and 2 things happened. I went out there, 3 practice fields. Okay, kids are all over these practice fields, and there's coaches, and the whistle blows, and you hear them go, "You come here," and they brought some receivers over, and they took Jonathan by himself to a football field by himself. The other kids went over there and were just doing whatever they were doing, and he kept him over there for like 30 minutes. And then when everything was over, we took us all in this room to eat. And it was beautiful. And we never got the first bite in, and they went, "Hey, can you bring your parents and come here?" And they took us up alone and spent the rest of the day in private meetings with the head football coach, with the chancellor, with the president, with and all. It's a brutal business. As I say that not to say, oh yeah, I say that to say it's freaking brutal. It's brutal, and I was down there going, this is kind of horrible. I did not like this, even though we were the ones that were getting treated differently. I was going, man, something's wrong. And Janet was looking at me and going, something's wrong here.
Yeah, but David, 9,000 kids don't get that.
Yeah, but I'm telling you that to say not about the part with Jonathan. I'm talking about the other kids. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
And of all those kids down there, not one got offered a scholarship besides Jonathan.
They spent the money. They go to camps. They drive the hotels. They're going to put their name out there. And no coach is going to tell you the truth. You're just not cut out for us. They're going to make sure, just in case one of them goes freaking nuts and goes and proves and grows 3 inches and 40 pounds of muscle, and he's standing there. These kids, it's all about getting that paper, that degree, and playing the sport. There's no NFL. I heard Houston Nutt say one time he was talking about his philosophy because, all those narcissistic coaches talk about kids, how they do things, and they don't win national titles. And then they sit there and they say, I recruit kids that want to go to the NFL. No, you don't. You know the percentage of D1 players going to the NFL? Getting the opportunity, you got 135 teams with an average of 20 or let's say 15 seniors. Do the math. 260 draft picks. You got your players that are offered free agencies and they don't make it. The players who they sell the illusion, the fantasy. What you want to do is what's right for the program. I'm going to say this one time. If I had to do it over again, there's not 1 ounce of me that desires to go play on a D1 level if I had the material, if I had the skills. I don't want to go into those nightmares. Look what we got. From Big Ten to SEC to ACC, we got problems everywhere. You're playing with guys that are not going to class. You got behavioral problems, gun problems, domestic violence problems. I don't want to play under that. I went into a pristine university, a college, and I played 4 years, and I live every minute. And I'll say this final thing. All season long, I've watched every single one of Elma's games on television. Even last Saturday's first-round playoff win against DePaul. Go to YouTube, put it on, you subscribe, you just click on the button, pretty soon you're watching it on TV because you got YouTube on your TV, and I'm watching Elma for 3.5 hours play football, and I'm sitting there watching. Yeah, I remember taking a class over there, and you see the campus behind you and everything. That's what I do on Saturdays and watching that and wishing I was doing it again. I don't want to go to problems. I never got recruited that way. I got told and the door shut. Well, you want to walk on? We'll let you walk on, but you can't play baseball. So I looked at my dad. My dad said, go down a level. Go down to a place where you can play 2 sports, but you're going to go and get a degree. So I knew what the priority was set by Dad. And
just a little bit.
Even though I was an hour and a half away from home, I was away from home. It was like being 5 hours away or 8 hours away. So and family wants to come and watch a kid, but sometimes if you can't, put on the YouTube and watch them play.
Yeah, you can do those things now. That's right. So Alma, second round of the playoffs on Saturday. They're the only team we got left.
Well,
everybody else is gone.
They have one of the greatest football programs in this country since 1993. They have played in what is called the Amos Alonzo Stag Bowl, which is the Division III national championship. And they are playing Mount Union. Mount Union has been at the national championship 19 times and won 12 of them. Or 13, won 13 of them. I wouldn't have it any other way. If you want to be the best, go play them at their place and beat them.
That's what Ric Flair said. To beat a man, you got to beat the man.
Exactly.
Woo!
Some of my buddies were saying, man, why did we draw Mount Union? I said, man, that's what you want. If you're going to take the next step, you got to have a big dog you beaten. Well, here's our chance. So we go down to Alliance, Ohio, and play Mount Union, the Purple Raiders, who've been to the national title. They expect to play in the national title. So here's Elma College going down there, and we're going to play. We're going to go throw up the best at them and see where we go.
There we go. So a lot of football on Saturday. Auburn, Alabama. Auburn's not real good. Oh God, Alma's in the playoffs. Mars Hill got dumped on and didn't make the playoffs. The Cats got the quarterback hurt, so they're done. So we're dependent on the Scots to keep us in our little group going.
I hope we can. But I'll tell you what I'm gonna be doing come noon on Saturday. Big screen, YouTube TV, along with about 13 of my former teammates from all over the United States. We're in a group text, and they'll be watching it too.
Question. I can't get off here without asking. Just you heard anything? What's happening over on the other side?
No, they're taking applications. They're moving full speed ahead. I have been told that their desire is to have this before the Christmas break, and preferably somewhere between, about 2 weeks. So that's mid-December to Christmas break. And they'll take those applications and they'll look in-house, and then they'll interview and say who we got. And they want a successful veteran head coach. So we'll see what they get from the pool. You can't go out and get Jimbo Fisher if he doesn't apply. Do you know what I mean? Jimbo's fired, but he's got a lot of money. So,
Do you know that he's making $27,000 a day?
I'm in the wrong business.
They're gonna pay him $27,000 a day,
right?
For $79 million.
Hey,
that's a lot of days.
I did not think my career path out. I should have seen because if somebody would, hey, I'm 2 years into a 5-year contract, and I got a nice buyout, and they come to me and say, we need to make a change. Well, when do I get my check? I'm out.
Coach O. Coach Orgeron, just give me my $17 million. Let me be. I'm good.
That's right. Some are not bitter about it.
I'm going to take my shirt off and get some sun.
Hey, when my buyout runs low, I'll get another job.
That's it. And the thing about his buyout is most of them, and I don't know the proper verbiage here, but if your buyouts, I'm just using numbers, $500,000 a year, and you go get a job that pays you $300,000 a year, then all they got to pay you is the difference.
Right. Now, Jimbo
gets it all, regardless. If he goes and gets another job that pays him $100 million,
right, they
still have to pay him every penny.
But up front, it was built and designed to where Jimmy Sexton, his agent, got his 7.3, I think if I calculated right, 7.3 million right up front, and Jimbo takes 4.6 this year, and then gets all the rest stretched out to whatever years. Bobby Bonilla said, "Dang, man, I should have had Jimmy Sexton as my agent."
I know Jimmy. Yeah,
everybody knows Jimmy.
Yeah, no, I know Jimmy.
You want to know about coaching hires on the collegiate level? You got to get in touch with Jimmy Sexton. He'll know exactly who's in link for, who's connected to that job and who's going to get that job. Jimmy Sexton is the agent for almost every college football coach.
He owes everything to Reggie White. Everything that he owes to Reggie White.
Got it.
Period.
All right.
But anyway, any words of wisdom, any last things before we get off here for Thanksgiving? And I hope you and Angie have a great Thanksgiving.
All our people, thank you for listening in. Maybe next year we get call-in segment or an hour, whatever the case may be. But I want you to have a wonderful and a merry and a happy Thanksgiving, and sit around the table and tell your family what you're thankful for.
That's it. And before we get off here, one of the things I want to make sure that let everybody know in the Tuscola Football Network and anybody that's associated with what we're doing. Number one, we never imagined all this. I never imagined when Jonathan came back that day and said, I can't say anything, but I got this job and this is what I want to do and where I want to be. And I said, that's awesome. And then he said, but this is what I need you to do. And then you and Chuck, please. And so when we started this, we were just trying to figure a way to get through a Saturday without screwing up too bad. And, but we promise, I give you my word that we are working on other things to make this, what's the word that we use, Chuck, that you elite. We want every phase of this program to be elite, from hopefully what they do on the field to the way that you see the game, the way that you hear the game, the way that the game is written and disseminated to you. We are going to work our butt off to make sure that these kids get the recognition they deserve, that the people in the community, the alums, the folks that T means something. We're going to make sure that the information gets to you in a way that you will be happy. But there's a lot of irons in the fire right now, and so just before we get off here for Thanksgiving, I'm thankful to everybody that takes 2 minutes out of their day to let us know that they appreciate this. But we sure appreciate you a whole lot more. And thank you to our 3 sponsors, Crompton's Automart, CromptonAuto.com. Come see me. I need to sell some cars. Trust me, I need to sell a car or two. Orchard Coffee. Man, we got people driving in from Asheville just to buy the ground coffee to take back home. And Sutton & Sons Antiques, the most unique things that you ever want. These guys work really hard. They go all over the country to get things to bring back here that are just unique and different that you can't get anywhere else. So thank you to everybody that's involved. Thank you to the administration of the school for taking the time to want this to happen. And we're going to get bigger and better. And have a great Thanksgiving, Chuck.
I will. You do the same.
I will, brother. I'll talk to you. And let's all root for the Bulldogs next Saturday.
And the Scots on Saturday.
Oh, heck yeah. Go Scots. Kilts up.
Kilts up. Wear your underwear.
That's it.